please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Good evening, you're watching CNBC TV18 and this is After the Bell. I'm Kritika Saxena. Government has decided to advance the rollout of the BS6 compliant fuel in Delhi to April 2018. Now this as it takes cognizance of the deteriorating air quality in the national capital. So while the nationwide implementation of BS4 fuel will take some time and will be done by April 2020, Delhi is likely to be the first city to get BS6 fuel. Ron Banerjee is here with details. Ron, what does this essentially mean for automakers? And, the larger question is, are they really prepared for this?
Well, actually, fundamentally, materially, it makes absolutely no difference, makes life neither easier nor tougher for the automakers. If anything, it should make them happier. Let me explain why. Because what this notification from the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas essentially says is that from April 2018 across Delhi and the national capital area, not national capital region, mind you, only Delhi will be available, will be having BS6 fuel from April 1, 2018. Now, the notification further states that the OMCs have been requested by the government to examine the possibility if BS6 fuel can be made available across the Delhi NCR region from April 1st, 2019. So that is how the facts stand today on the ground post this notification that is issued by the government. Why does it not change anything for the automakers? Because currently, lower grade engine cars. So currently in Delhi, you have BS4 vehicles, you have BS3 vehicles, BS2. All these cars can run on higher grade fuel. So BS4 car today can run on higher grade fuel, that is BS6, but it cannot be the other way around. You cannot have a BS6 car running on a lower grade fuel. In fact, the auto industry, they've been requesting the oil marketing companies to ensure that BS6 fuel will be made available before the April 2020 deadline. So that 2020 deadline for BS6 upgrade, that does not change, that stays as it is. What is important now to keep in mind is that we know that when a car engine moves from BS4 to BS6, the overall pollution level comes down by 82%. But in this case, a BS4 car or a BS3 car, whatever, will be running on BS6 fuel, whereas the engine still remains the old one. What will be the impact on pollution? That is something which we are yet to ascertain. I spoke with Sunita Narayan also, and she said that is a calculation that CSE will be making. And the larger question, Kritika, with which I want to end this, is from where will the fuel come from? Because the understanding we've had from oil marketing companies is that BS6 grade fuel is not available at this point in time, may not be available till 2019. How will this fuel be made available? Those are some of the questions that I'll be posing later on the show. Kritika.
Okay, hold on, Ron. Let's also bring in Shireen Bhan, who joins in now with a special guest to discuss the rollout of the BS6 compliant fuel in Delhi from April 2018. Shireen, over to you.
Well, thanks very much. We do have Mr. Pavan Goenka from M&M joining us. Mr. Goenka, appreciate you joining us. What we now have to contend with is the notification that's come in from the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. And this says that they are looking to advance the timeline of the switch over to BS6 in Delhi to the 1st of April 2018. And they're also hoping to be able to do that by 2019 across the national capital region. How does this impact the automotive sector, if at all, sir?
Okay, I think there is some confusion on what the notification is. I have seen it, and it very clearly says that what the Ministry of Petroleum is doing is advancing availability of BS6 fuel in NCT, that is Delhi, to April 2018.
Yes.
And it does not say anything about the BS6 norms, which are two different things. And fuel availability does not mean that the norms are being advanced. And there is nothing that I have heard or read about the norms being advanced.
Okay, so there is no corresponding notification that has come in yet from the Road and Transport Ministry. So your understanding is that this is a Ministry of Oil and Gas notification to allow BS6 to be available in the National Capital Territory. But do you feel, Mr. Goenka, that perhaps we could see follow-on action now from the Road and Transport Ministry as well? I mean, if the oil companies say that we can provide the BS6 fuel, do you believe that engine specification timeline may also be advanced?
Well, I obviously cannot answer that question as to what is being thought about. But what I can say is that the whole industry, auto industry, is working with a deadline that has been announced of April 1st, 2020 for fuel being for vehicles being available with BS6, and I do not think that anybody can prepone that by 2 years and be ready by 1st April 2018, because if that was the case, we would have never sort of been concerned about that deadline of April 2020.
So I'm just trying to understand the rationale behind this move. If you're saying that the engine specification norms are unlikely to change, or at least we don't have any information as of now, and the auto industry, you're saying, has not been consulted on advancing those timelines, then what purpose would it serve to have BS6 fuel being available in the NCT? Can a BS4 engine, for instance, use BS6 fuel, sir?
Yes, BS4 engine by and large can use BS6 fuel. There is no problem, because BS6 fuel is designed to, because even when BS6 comes in 2020, there will still be BS4 vehicles that will be running in Delhi or any place in India, and therefore clearly BS6 fuel is usable with BS4 vehicles. That's not a problem at all. I can see three advantages of what the Ministry of Petroleum has announced today. One is, of course, it gives confidence to the auto industry that the fuel will become available on April 2020 throughout the country. So this is the first step, and we were always concerned that could there be a last-minute situation where the fuel is not available, even on April 2020. So this gives us confidence that we should not be concerned about fuel availability. That is number one. Number two, when a lower sulfur fuel is being used, there will be some benefit to PM emission, even with the BS4 fuels. Okay, how much is the benefit? I cannot quantify it, but directionally, even BS4 vehicles will have slightly lower PM emission with BS6 fuel. So that advantage will be there.
Okay.
And then the third advantage is, again, it's just a thought in my mind, that perhaps Government of India can, rather than regulating that BS6 should come faster in Delhi, could give an incentive that those who launch a BS6 model in Delhi before the time of 2020 can get some kind of benefit.
Okay. So,
and that will incentivize at least some models by some companies to be launched, and we will not wait till April 28. Something can happen by October 19, something can happen by January 20. It can come that much sooner. Okay, so that to your mind could be the rationale behind the Oil Ministry's notification. But in the context of what we've seen happen in the National Capital Region, and actually it's unfair to only single out the NCR, it's most parts of North India at this point in time suffering from, toxic fumes. Do you worry about perhaps more punitive action against diesel specifically? And let me also answer one more thing, that, see, unlike BS4, when you have BS6 only in limited area, and if you start selling BS6 vehicles on that basis, then there is a problem of those vehicles not being able to go outside the area. Because BS6 vehicles cannot tolerate BS4 fuel, even one tank full. Okay. So that will be a big constraint in saying that only Delhi will have BS6 fuel and BS6 vehicle, because then the Delhi vehicles cannot go outside Delhi, or at least cannot fill fuel outside Delhi. Coming back to your question, Sahin, it's been very well established that the problem that happens every November, December, January is for reasons other than emission of coming out of vehicles, because that emission is same throughout the year. That does not become high in November, December, and low in June, July. And this problem that happens, unfortunately, every year is because of the burning of the crop waste in Punjab, and everybody recognizes that. And for that reason, every year we cannot be fighting the battle of the diesel vehicle being the culprit. I think that is well established, and I don't think we should revisit that every year. The solution is there. We are going to BS6 in 2 years, 3 years time frame. We live in BS6. BS4 obviously is better than what BS3 was. And that's what we have to work towards. Every year we cannot be revisiting this, in my opinion.
Well, in matters of public health emergencies, we sometimes do see measures being taken which may not be surprising that they're out of the ordinary. But very quickly, sir, let me ask you this. As we are faced with this problem now becoming virtually a perennial problem across large parts of India on an annual basis, and this is something that is not getting better, but in fact is getting worse, and we can argue about the contribution of vehicle emission. But to your mind, sir, leave us with some long-term solutions and also explain to us what the Mahindra strategy is going to be able to address this issue.
Well, see, first of all, as far as the vehicle emission is concerned, we are working to a plan of constantly reducing vehicle emission by going to BS4 first now and then BS6 as time goes on. We also are working very strongly and aggressively on electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, of course, are ultimate solution to any vehicular pollution that happens in NCR or any other region of the country. And that would be a good solution if a country can move towards electric vehicles in near term or medium term. Now, if it is established that diesel vehicles are cause of the problem that we are facing, are major culprit, then whatever needs to be done should be done. I have no problem with that. But I think as of now, nobody is saying that it is primarily diesel vehicles that are causing the current problem that we are facing in NCR area. Okay, let me end then by asking you, sir, since you talked about electric vehicles, November is when the tender that the government had floated for the electric vehicles, the first consignment is supposed to be delivered. What is the update? When do we expect that to happen? I'm glad you asked, because today is the day when we have delivered, not delivered, but ceremonial delivery of our first vehicles to EESL in Delhi. And at about 2 o'clock today, we had showcased our first batch of vehicles to them. The delivery will now start any day. All right, Mr. Goenka, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18. And as always, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Welcome back to our continued coverage. The big story from Delhi. Delhi to move will have BS6 fuel across the city come April 2018. And the ball is now clearly in the court of oil marketing companies. How are they gearing up? Joining me now is Mr. M.K. Surana, the Chairman and Managing Director of HPCL. Mr. Surana, thanks very much for joining us here on this breaking story, sir. Currently, HPCL, sir, you have about 45 to 50 petrol pumps across the capital. Will they all be ready to provide BS6 fuel from April 2018?
Yeah, we will be gearing for it to provide Euro 6 MS and HSD, at least in the NCT region of Delhi, from 1st of April 2018, as is announced by the Ministry of Petroleum today.
Because the government statement from the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas also says that they've requested oil marketing companies to see and examine the feasibility of whether you can perhaps provide BS6 fuel across the Delhi National Capital Region by April 2019. How confident do you think, sir, whether the April 2019 deadline would be met?
See, if you remember, as per the policy guidelines which were given earlier, all the companies are taking actions to prepare to supply Euro 6 fuel facilities from 1st of April 2020. Now, because of the situation which are prevailing in the Delhi region, Ministry has taken a step to prepone it to 2018, and that we will be able to do with certain change in our operations. So that we are very confident of meeting of 1st of April 2018 to provide the Delhi NCT region. As far as Delhi NCR region is concerned, that quantity is much higher. That we need to really examine, and then only I can probably comment on that. But as far as 2018 in NCT region, that we will be able to meet.
That you'll be able to do. Help us understand how you'll be meeting this, sir. You have refineries in places like Visakhapatnam, Mangalore. Will you be manufacturing the BS6 fuel in these refineries, or will you have to procure them, let's say, from another player who already have BS6 fuel currently?
No, some of the refineries of each 3 oil marketing companies can produce certain quantity of Euro 6 product. Like our Bhatinda refinery can produce some quantity of MS and HSD of Euro 6. Like IOC also, Panipat refinery can produce, or BPCL also, Bina refinery can produce certain quantities. So to that extent, we will be able to reach to the NCT region. But that is in some certain amounts can be made. The full hog activities for the new projects are going on, which are geared for April 2020 for supplying all over India. So as far as the NCT
help
region,
us.
we'll be able to do by producing some of the refineries. As for NCR region, we'll examine that possibility of how much more quantity we can produce to cater to whole NCR region as well.
So just to get some clarity on that, you're saying for the Delhi region, the refineries, the refineries of the three oil marketing companies, you will be ready to manufacture BS6 fuel in these refineries. But when it moves to Delhi NCR region, if at all, from April 2019, that is when you may have to possibly procure it to meet the shortfall. Is that what you're saying, sir?
No, I didn't say that. What I said was, with the current facilities which we have, we can manufacture certain quantity of Euro 6 MS and HSD, with which we can cater to the requirement of Delhi NCT region. Now, because NCR region requirement is almost 5 times of NCT region. Okay, so that part we need to examine whether with the existing facilities, because the full facility will be coming by 2020 for supplying to the countries with the project taken up. With the existing facilities, because of the change in certain operating conditions, whether we can produce additional quantity which will be sufficient to cater to the NCR region. Of course, there are certain standalone refineries which can produce Euro 6 more quantity also. So we need to examine that part. I only said that we need to examine that part, how much we can produce ourselves, whether we can get it from somewhere else or that part.
I don't want to tie you down to specific numbers, sir, but if you could at least give us an estimate of what is the kind of shortfall then, that you anticipate when it comes to having your own BS6, fuel, and how much you may have to then procure from outside.
No, as far as NCT is concerned, we will be able to cater from our own facilities. NCT, there is no problem to cater to.
There is no concern. Okay, but it's only when it's Delhi NCR. Just a couple of last questions then, so quickly.
Yeah.
You will be able to. What is the kind of investment, sir, then we expect, the oil marketing companies to make in this regard, so that you're ready with BS6 fuel by April 2018?
No, this will be more towards tweaking in our current operation, rather than through a capex mode, because so quickly you cannot do through the capex mode. So we need to do in some different fashion with some, different catalysts and the operations, that type of thing. But for NCR region, as I mentioned, we need to see that what additional we need to do in a year, what can be done to produce that. Okay. And with some of the project facilities which are already targeting for 2020, if some of these things can be completed. So we need to see that. But NCR part we need to review. Today only the announcement is made. But as far as NCT region is concerned, yes, yeah, we can cater to with
You're ready for that.
It is a.
You're ready.
Of course, it is a very challenging task which the government has given, but we will be able to meet NCT part.
Yeah. Final question then. We know, sir, when it comes to BS4 engines today are 82% more polluting than BS6 engines. But when it comes to BS6 fuel, I mean, could you help us understand how much of an impact this would have on reducing pollution, sir?
So, as far as BS6 fuels is concerned, that has got a sulfur content of only 10 ppm, while the BS4 has got 50 ppm. So that is a substantial addition. 1/5 of the sulfur, 10 parts per million parts. That is the type of the specification which has got in Euro 6. So that extent, it is a lot more cleaner as far as sulfur emissions and other pollutants are concerned. So it is good. And that will be, I think, not many countries in the world actually are to Euro 6 standard, to be honest with you. So that way, India Euro 6 to BS6 to BS4 to BS6 without in between BS5. Yeah.
Indeed, it's a big leap, sir. Mr. Surana, thanks very much for joining us with your thoughts, because the ball is now clearly in your court, how you will supply BS6 fuel from April 2018. That was Mr. Surana, the chairman, managing director of the company, saying that as far as the April 2018 deadline for BS6 fuel is concerned, oil marketing companies will be able to meet that. They'll be able to manufacture their own BS6 fuel. But if the April 2019 deadline, if that also becomes a reality, that is when oil marketing companies may have to procure BS6 fuel from some of the players who currently have the capabilities. With that, we're going to wrap up this edition of After the Bell, but stay tuned. Up next is Markets Today. Talk Up. Thanks very much for watching.